not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
They call him Samurai. He speaks fluent Japanese.
Are you Fujiyama?
Hey, Andy.
Well, Mark, what are you doing here?
What do you mean? Didn't you invite me?
I did. I'm sorry you caught me in the middle of some a little project I have going on right here.
Oh yeah.
Some do-it-yourself coffins. I'm working with our dear friend Rob Morton. He's really good with woodworking, and so so he says he has some clients who are incapable, who have not been paying him on time. So he needs to make some coffins.
Okay. Somebody's got to get it done. Yeah.
Yeah. They owe him. Yeah. They he's done some good representation for them. So, but he's making it for them because they can't pay for them.
Yeah, sure. No, I
that's the reason why.
Yeah,
that's the reason why. That's the reason why. That's the reason why. So, anyways.
It's not suspicious at all.
David, what brings you here?
I was told there would be scones.
Oh, there would be scones. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry to disappoint you. No scones here.
There's no scones?
No scones. But
I'll be leaving.
Yes.
Sorry,
well, no, don't leave. Don't leave. Oh no, there they go. Love it. Okay. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me here today. So, on the very first episode of Be Real with Andy the Game Maker. So, for those of you unfamiliar, I have my good friends Marc Calderaro and David Grace. Feel free to give a wave to the crowd here, if you will, the audience, if you don't mind. And so right now, what we have right here is, so I told you guys to do some research, to give you a little homework assignment, which if you guys want to share what that was before we begin here.
I was told to watch Garfield 2 featuring Bill Murray.
Oh, that was the wrong
That's
homework
the one
assignment.
where there's the poster where Garfield's giving the peace sign. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I watched that one too.
What one of the few projects that Bill Murray actually regrets?
Have any regrets?
Garfield, maybe.
Yeah. So anyway, no, I asked you both to watch the movie Pacific Rim, and first and foremost, I just want to one of the things I want to point out here is that you both have, I think, interesting opinions about both those movies, and they're not one and the same, which is something I actually am really happy to hear. So if I'll start off with Mark. Mark, what is your general impression of the movie Pacific Rim?
If you don't enjoy Pacific Rim, it's your fault. I mean, that's basically okay. I don't know. I mean, I love it. It's amazing. I don't know how deep you want me to get on this first read, but I do have
just a general. General touch.
Yeah. I have a whole quadrant theory that is kind of based on Pacific Rim, but we can leave that for later. I think that if you walk out of the theater of Pacific Rim not with a smile on your face, you should just get yourself checked or whatever. That's my
so that leads me to David. David, what do you think about Pacific Rim?
Well, according to Mark, I need to get myself checked. I think Pacific Rim is a great, when it works, and when it doesn't, you feel it. It's the kind of thing of like when the monster fights are happening, you're like, this is awesome, this is great. And then it cuts back to the people. And it has the same problems that most monster movies have, is how do you make the people as interesting as the monsters?
That's a fair point.
And I think that's where this one lacks.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the answer to that question is often don't. You know what I mean?
Monster. To that point.
Yeah, just show more monster. That's kind of what Kong Skull Island did, right? Like Kong Skull Island was right. How can we make these people interesting? Fuck them. Just don't. Show more Kong.
Give us more Kong. Give us more Godzilla.
Fine.
Like, yeah, I mean, I like it. It's a good movie. I've only rewatched it now because it was my homework assignment. Otherwise, I saw it in theaters when it first came out, and I was like, I'm gonna leave it there. That was good. I liked
good.
it, but I don't
Yeah.
need to rewatch. It's 2 hours. Clock's in 2 hours and 11 minutes. That feels a little too long for me.
It's a bit on the lengthy side. I will give you that. So my general consensus is I tend to agree with Mark. I think it's a great film. I think Guillermo del Toro does a great job with putting this movie together, and I think that he just really has some fun with the genre itself, and I think that's something that I really appreciate about it. And I can't help but think about the Transformers films when watching these movies, watching Pacific Rim, and it feels like you can actually. One of my biggest complaints about Transformers is you can't see what the hell is going on sometimes, like especially when they're like transforming, if you will, and it's almost like disrespectful to like the visual artists from that perspective, because you can't tell like what you're looking at sometimes, and to me it's just frustrating.
They figured it out in Transformers 2 when the settings were like a forest,
Yep.
or like the desert, like instead of a city, like instead of just things that are surrounded by things that look like giant robots,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
the visuals really popped in that second one. For that reason.
For sure.
It was more memorable too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
Definitely
sure.
more memorable.
For sure. So that leads me to why we are here. So what I've done here is I've used the Pacific Rim as a primer to establish what we're about to watch here. So are you guys familiar with, by chance, the production company Asylum?
So I guessed that this is where you were going. I had no idea, but my good friend, who is a feature film director now, and she has an incredible career, started her career by directing and writing for Asylum.
Oh,
and
my
she
goodness.
she produced like 8 of their films, and and directed a bunch of them. So
Oh my goodness.
yes, I'm quite familiar with Asylum.
How about you, David?
I'm coming in completely blind.
Beautiful.
I'm fully, and I love like indie movies, B movies. Like I love this. I've run film festivals before, so I'm excited. This is going to be great.
There's 2 type of indie films. There's indie films are like, I'm coming at this from an artistic perspective, and I can't get my vision seen unless I do it myself. And then there's indie films that come from the perspective of, I'm just trying to bilk as much money from confused grandmas as I can. And,
And confusion.
And there is no middle ground.
and you'll see which one Asylum is.
Oh my goodness. Oh, this is gonna be great. Okay. All right. Well, guys. So, without further ado, what I have for you right now is I have the trailer for Atlantic Rim, which we will. That's how we're gonna start this off with. We're gonna watch the trailer first.
Oh God.
To whet our appetite.
Palate
here.
cleansing.
Yes. To really get into this. So, all right. And where is it? I have the tab open. There it is. Okay. All righty.
Atlantic Rim.
We don't believe the boy disappeared.
Oh my
We
goodness.
believe it was scuttled.
What do you propose?
He was the first one to sign up, and he passed all the tests.
I'm buying it.
Are these M-Bot pilots ready?
Gearing up as we speak.
Oh my
This
goodness.
is McGipsy Dive.
Commencing launch sequences.
Leg off.
Bots are down.
What?
I'm picking something up on the sonar.
What is that? It's very, very large.
That's what she said.
Michael! Red! That thing just touched down south of New York. Broken tire.
He is a reckless liability.
He's the best we've got.
Come on! Get the hell out of
All right. Buckle up, guys.
Punch, punch it. Let's go.
Oh my goodness, you guys ready for this?
So I just want to give David just a little primer on if he doesn't know what Asylum is. You just have to know, just because Asylum made an entire business model based off of releasing either straight to DVD or later straight to streaming movies that were similarly titled to movies that were being released theatrically, and they would release them on the same day. So the trick was that you would get some like poor sap who had seen a trailer for Pacific Rim and then like is online and is like, oh, this must have been it. I must have remembered it wrong. And then they rent it. And they do that. And it's not just American, because the real trick is, so I have some inside info on these items.
We're dropping inside info now.
They were one of the last companies to be able to do a lot of foreign pre-sales after those sort of markets collapsed. But like they know that they could get $50,000 in Japan from Japan if there was a dinosaur in the movie. You know what I mean? So they would like just put a dinosaur in the movie, and then they could sell the rights to Japan for $50K. You know, like, oh, and then in Hungary they could get $25K if they put whatever. And so the movies, especially the writers and the directors, it's just a conglomeration of just all this stuff like thrown in, and then it has to be released by the release date of whatever. Transmorphers was like, you know, like
not Transformers, Transmorphers. Yeah. Yeah. There's an actual like, we can get into this after we watch it, but basically what they refer to them as, like, I think sound-alike movies. That is what they refer to. It's actual, like, you know, genre of movies. Sound alike. Yeah. So I think we're blowing David's mind right now, which
this
I really
is
appreciate.
Sharknado graphics with a Pacific Rim theme. I'm here for it.
Yeah. Sharknado would not have happened if not for Asylum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just before we get into this, my friend who made all these films, her first film that she directed was a film called Christian High School Musical.
Andy, why are we not watching that?
I might even be able to get the director to be a special guest if we watch Christian High School.
Please,
I am here for it.
Can we?
I am 100% here for it. So
I would buy the DVD copy of that if it was available.
I can make that happen for you, David.
I need that in my collection.
So anyway, that's the deal. I thought you might want to know going in. Asylum is like, oh, they're wonderful. You look through their title catalog and you're like, I know what week this was released. You know.
I cannot. Okay, this is great. Okay, that's great backstory on that one. Thanks for the background on that, Mark. That's a great way to set this up too. So you guys watch Pacific Rim. You guys watch, we have all that context now especially after seeing the trailer. So we will go ahead and just jump right into it. All righty. And I present to you, what is going on here? Atlantic Rim.
Atlantic Rim.
Hey, welcome back.
Seems to be a little bit unstable.
I think you're better now.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, we can.
Well, guys, so let's take a moment just to kind of recap the film. All right, so, who wants to take a stab at summarizing Atlantic Rim, the plot of Atlantic Rim?
Oil rig goes down. Flipper 1 is on the loose. Reckless bad boy Red gets deployed to go and take it down. Accidentally blows up half of New Orleans.
And then gets free drinks around the city because of it.
And then gets to celebrate it.
It gets a medal.
Gets a medal.
Yeah.
But then gets put back in prison after receiving the medal for no reason. Team runs really strangely.
Yeah.
And then they fight the last guy, and then they Iron Man throw him into space and blow him up.
All right. I think this is really a story about how the military, being in the military in a community, can kind of change your thinking to what they need you to be. Because, like, look at Treach, man. Anytime Treach was, like, out of the mech, anytime he was like, we got to slow down, we got to think of these other people, I'm going to do Red Cross stuff. But then he gets in the mech, and all of a sudden he is this completely different human who is
Charisma.
just like, hoorah, I'm in, let's
personality,
go, punch that guy, you know? And I really feel like it's like, he's absolutely channeling very well what it's like to be surrounded in that environment. You know what I mean? It's just, screw these people. I'm going to step on them as I'm walking through the city, you know?
Yeah. This, oh my goodness. Like, just the one thing I can't, that stands out the most to me is just Graham Greene and his performance, and just, he's delivering the lines the same way every single time. And like, no matter what he says, and the words he uses, like bull butter. It's like,
yeah, it really. Like, I feel like Graham Greene, when they talk to him for the part, he's like, "You give me this amount to get to the building."
Jesus H. Christ, I'd love to be watching the news tonight.
You give me this amount, I'll show up and do something.
Respect, Captain Waters is our best damn pilot.
Well, I don't care. I still don't trust him. Look at the mess he made.
And you're exactly right. He is dangerous.
Yeah.
He's still in wild card. I'm going to have his head for a trophy on my wall.
what?
And they're like, nah, let's just go for the first amount. You know what I mean? Like,
he made that money. He got that paycheck.
First round's on me, son. Jesus, you know how to make it.
It looks like they probably filmed that no more than a week, I would say.
Oh, absolutely not. You mean his scenes? No more than a week. You mean his scenes or the whole movie? Because like his scenes, he was not on set for more than a week. No way.
No.
Possibly 3 days.
That's what I'm thinking. Like they probably had him on for like 2-3 days. That's why like all the sets were like the same. He didn't leave that little airstrip probably. That little air base that they filmed that.
Yeah.
And I looked in the backstory of this movie, and I guess apparently they tried to film at Pensacola's like naval air base, and they were like, one of the air bases in Florida. They're like, they read the script like, nope. They said their excuse was they didn't like the way the military is portrayed, but they're like, no, this film looks really shitty.
Yeah.
This looks bad. Like we don't want anything to do with it. It's not worth our time, worth our effort. So they just end up filming like they had that shot from like the hangar with all the aircraft there. Not just one with the helicopters, but the first one with like the unless that was actually a B-roll shot. But anyways, use civilian aircraft to.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I think you're right. You know, there's a one of my favorite straight to VOD, oh not VOD, but straight to video directors. This guy named David A. Pryor, who died a couple of years ago. But he used to just make movies in his spare time with his brother in the backwoods of Alabama, right? His most famous one is Deadly Prey. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely look it up.
Oh, Deadly Prey, that's right. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And
the music is awesome for Deadly Prey.
yeah. No, it's a wonderful. He's a great director. There's a lot of he's done a lot of good things, but like he always just shoots in like the forest behind his house, and it's like wherever it needs to be. It could be Vietnam, it could be whatever, and it's just the same fucking woods, you know. And that's really what I feel like with these office buildings. You know, there's just like the most least descript office building. Like it's a military establishment. It's a jail. It's just like, I don't know. It's just a fucking building. You know?
Yeah. It's whatever he needs it to be.
Yeah. Right.
Keep it on budget.
Yeah. Yep.
So I guess, so let's do this. So like I have a couple notes here, or a couple things I wanted to just kind of cover, is kind of give us a little comparison, or at least a way to evaluate this specific film. So like the writing, if you guys had to like, review the writing aspects of the movie, like, like how would you summarize, the writing of this movie?
Well, I think David and I actually talked about this a little when you were gone. I think that, it is cogent. The plot, absolutely. I understand how we got from A to B to C. Sometimes.
Yep.
But the biggest, and yeah, they didn't explain how anyone ever got out of a mech.
Right around the corner, closing fast.
How did he get out of the ship?
The Jaeger.
Where did they get it come from?
Yeah, sure.
Wait!
Sure.
Wait!
That was
Did they
insane.
not
What
explain how they
happened?
got off the bottom of the
Dumbass in
ocean?
the butt. I got
They did.
the
I didn't
down
catch
on
if they
the
did.
Got a strong pride open all the way. I'm shaking. I'm fighting with him. Spitfire comes in, dude. He's got a full payload. 50 caliber.
We don't need to hear this.
Sharply, comes around,
Well, they
puts
couldn't
the
see it because all they saw was the radar.
I love how the first time they actually show something in the movie, instead of telling us about it, they later have to retell it to other
Re-explain it.
We didn't write that yet? No, I did, but I just worked on the humility.
But like that just wound up on the cutting room floor. I'm sure that was probably in the screenplay. But the big issue I think that we both had was these introductions of these subplots for certain scenes that never once came back again later.
Me and Tracy got to tell you something.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do.
Wait, I thought he just
Tracy
knew.
needs to hear this.
Hey, Jimmy boy, talk to me. It's nothing more than that.
Well, the
Hold that thought.
It's painful.
Awesome.
It's so painful.
It's got layers, man.
You
This
don't want
movie's
to
got
know?
Layers.
You don't want to know? It goes, oh
This
my
is
goodness.
so bad.
Get out of here.
Never once. You know, it's just like what are we doing here? That's my issue with this
Yeah,
movie,
he's
I think.
like he was about to elaborate on the affair, and all of a sudden, oh, gotta go. It's just like, and they just left it at that, and just sort of like, and then at the end, it's like almost like as if nothing happened at all. It just like really like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if it's the writing, because it was like, yeah, it was pretty obvious what the storyline is going to be, and that's all fine. There's two of them. Oh, surprise, there's going to be two of them. But it was like, oh, mass devastation to the cities. And then like we only see a fraction, or like 5 extras are dead. It's like, oh, there's mass devastation. But it's like no one's reacting like there is. So, or they're not shooting it in a way where it's believed, but you could still be like, yeah, all right, it's still, we're on a budget film for that kind of thing. I guess, you know, I think that's fine. Maybe on a second viewing, I would rate that differently.
Yeah, but I think you're right. Like, especially the medal scene, the scene where they give him the medal, they let him out of prison for no reason to give him the medal. That it's like this all just happened this day.
Yeah, well, for what it's worth, you did a hell of a job today.
There's dead all over New Orleans.
So it was today.
Great job.
Okay, so they did confirm that it is.
Not much time has passed.
And they're giving him a medal
Yeah.
that night, and it's just like this happy gala, and like, you know, it's like, come on, guys,
Like mass
Just at least act
hysteria.
like-
Like there was an attack on the city that is allegedly left a lot of people dead. The United States military railgun blasted New Orleans, but we're giving the guy who blasted the building a medal.
Activating the railgun. Eat this.
On the beach?
Mark called it.
I knew that was a bad idea.
we have to help him.
And like literally during that scene, they are intercutting stock footage of Katrina. Or if this is just what they think makes a cool leading man. Because like they're actually doing a pretty good job of making this guy seem like a giant douche by showing like
for sure.
Katrina B-roll like over him partying with a medal, right? Like that's what this is, right? These are shots from Katrina.
Oh my God.
That's 100% what it is. You know what I mean? And we're just expected to like think these are the good guys. Just go to this gala getting a medal. Like
In hindsight, if this was to get like publicity now, which this video may get the publicity that this film needs to get it canceled, because that very well could get it canceled. And I think that would be hysterical. Like, you know?
Use what you got, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
One filmmaker to another.
We
Use
have
what you got,
all
man.
this footage from Katrina. Like, we might as well. I mean, it's just sitting around collecting dust. Like,
Well, I couldn't. You know, we keep talking about the railgun, right? And the way it's just like the way he just used indiscriminately. But what I couldn't understand is like you see all these civilian bodies laying around, but they all have like bullet holes, and it's like how do they get shot up? You know, how do people actually get shot up? And they're like, and it's not like it was like the actual building itself. It was like, you know, adjacent buildings, like what seemed to be like far away from that. Just like who did they get shot by? I mean,
they needed
like, just a tactical decision by the military.
They needed 1 or 2 more shots of the monster because it's supposed to be that the monster's stepping and knocking down these buildings, but they don't ever show that or give us any hint that that's what's going on for the buildings to be collapsing.
You know what? Yeah, that's really it. I think the bullet holes, though, it can explain by this, Andy. During disasters, there's always some looters, you know, and really the biggest casualties were looting, and that's what killed those people in the bar who were just fine, like with a beer next to them, just like laying down on the bar like that. It's just looters got them. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Actually, those guys were just taking a nap.
Well, we watched them die when the bar exploded for no reason, for no explainable reason.
Oh my gosh, just the whole bar scene was just like, oh my god, like the fact that the guy shows up, he's like, I need to find my daughter, and like that, you know, Treach, you know, Green, you know, or that's whatever. He's like, you know, I've got other responsibilities, but you know what? Those aren't important right now. I'm gonna go help you with find your daughter, which it's happens to be in this building, which you haven't bothered to go into. Which,
this
over there.
father's running around the city, and it's like, oh, you didn't check that?
I know where she is. Yeah.
What's your daughter doing in this bar, sir? That's the real question.
Yeah. Wait a second.
I mean, he didn't really have much of an issue finding his daughter. It doesn't strike me like he wasn't that much of a danger going in there.
That is true. They must have known where the daughter was. It was just like, I can't get her. You know, like, I don't know. Does he have a fear of stairs? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. But of course, I'm glad that you pointed out the so I will say I think the extras actually did a pretty good job of filling in the scenes in several moments of this movie, like running from disaster. I think that was probably one of like the few really bright spots of this movie. Getting them to be like, hey, this is a serious event, you know, and moving with the flow of everything. And then that one body that you pointed out of that girl just laying there, just like all contorted, like
MVP.
She probably didn't get paid for that, or if she did, she probably got like what, $50
like
at the most.
Like,
you know?
$100.
Yeah, $1,500 with craft food services, maybe, you know. So it's just like you might be in this movie that no one will ever see. You know, it's just like, at
least you know you come out looking like the best extra there.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You add that to your reel. You're like, you know, you add that to your extra reel. You're like, that's me. You know, there is I don't know how well you guys know the industry or whatever, but there is a delineation between extra and featured extra. You know, and like a featured extra is like a real thing. Maybe you're seen in a close-up. Maybe you're near, you know, you're like kind of just behind the lead star and I can see your facial expressions, you know. And I don't think that one was paid as a feature extra, but she's putting that thing on a reel like she was. You know, she was good.
Isn't that kind of thing of like the Walking Dead zombies? Wouldn't they be considered like featured extras?
I mean, if they're the ones like just crawling around and they don't do anything, you know, they don't do anything, but they're like big in frame,
right?
You know, kind of. It's like how well you can see them without pausing it.
Right.
That's kind of, in my mind, that's always been the delineation of featured extra versus an extra. Of like, if I can be distracted by you in frame, you're probably a featured extra. You know, like there's a guy. Oh my! Have you guys seen School of Rock? One of my favorite all-time extras is in School of Rock. He's just in the last scene where they're having the big concert, and he is a fan of the band that wins, the not School of Rock band that kicked him out. And at one point, he just screams. He's like, "Yeah, like No Vacancy," the name of the band. You know, when you're like looking when that shot, you're only looking at him.
$1 to No Vacancy.
You were looking at no one else, you know, and like that's when you can grab that sort of attention as an extra. That's what you're there for, man. As long as the director doesn't catch you doing it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
but
anyway.
but it's at the same. he might be a visual eyesore in some instances, but he's adding to the movie still.
Right.
In
Oh no,
way.
I love him.
Yeah.
I am not.
Yeah.
Please, I am not saying anything bad about that man. That man, absolutely increases my enjoyment of that film. 100%.
No, for sure. Yeah. It's just people who have that level of awareness where they're like, this is where I am, this is what I'm doing, this is what's expected of me. I'm not gonna do this, I'm gonna do this,
Yeah.
And then and it just really adds to the film itself. So that's great. So all right, so basically I guess the way I could summarize the writing, I will say one thing. I thought about one of my favorite reviews ever written, and that was Roger Ebert's review of Pearl Harbor. And what he said about Pearl Harbor, he says it was it was a 90-minute movie compressed in 3.5 hours. Is the way he describes Pearl Harbor. That's the way I felt with this movie several times, where I'm like, this is taking much longer than I want it to, and it's just sort of like it's just dragging on and it's just filler, and it's just like, why are we watching this? It just several moments where we're just like, is this gonna end soon? Are we gonna see something soon? Like,
are you talking about Pacific Rim or Atlantic Rim?
talking about Atlantic Rim, obviously. So, but we will talk about Pacific Rim shortly in a bit. But that's that in a gist. So, so like the acting of this movie, how do you guys summarize the acting here? I know we kind of touched on it here and there with, Graham Greene and such, but what do you guys think?
Jesus H. Christ, I'd love to be watching the news tonight.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Look, when you're tuning into a movie like this, and you aren't a tricked grandma, you know what you're tuning in for. Like there's a ceiling that's going to exist, and like that's okay with me. That's fine. It doesn't detract from me from the experience I'm watching. What I'm looking for when I get that sort of thing is someone who does that in a way that is compelling. And quite frankly, Stephen Marlowe to me, like, really hit that ceiling for what I'm looking for out of acting when I purposefully watch a movie like this.
Where is everybody?
Stan Crenshaw.
It's Mardi Gras, sir. All the streets are shut down.
Oh, get a halo, for Christ's sake.
The USS Virginia is in theater. We need to act now. We have to nuke these things.
That is a bad idea.
That is not our call, sir.
He was compelling. Right. He was wonderful. Not compelling because I believed his character. He's compelling because I'm going to go, what choice is he going to make next time he's on screen? You know what I mean? And like, and that's a level of compelling. I don't know what to tell you.
Because he's clearly thinking about it. He's clearly thinking about what he's doing. It's not like I'm just here to collect a paycheck. It's like, no, I'm actually going to, give some type of delivery.
You're going to try something.
On what's going on. Yeah.
And you know what? You really put that. I hadn't thought about that, Andy. But like juxtaposing him against Graham Greene, who you can tell is just like, he doesn't
phoning it in.
Yeah, he's just phoning it in.
Jesus H. Christ, I'd love to be watching the news tonight.
That's fine. Like, but really having just a guy next to him just trying to chew everything he possibly can,
Or Margaret,
feels good.
The scientist lady who just like is just. She and Graham Greene, I just felt like we're just the same the entire time. It was just the level of the terrain of their acting, if you will. Like it just felt very minimal. It just kind of moving along at the same pace. It just like, I mean, there are some times where Graham Greene is trying to, really get into it, and like, he's getting really pissed off. But like beyond that, it's just like not. It's pretty much the same across the board.
It's an offshoot of the biomechanics, Admiral. The suit absorbs shocks, mass interferences, tactile controls.
Just simulated.
Reading the script,
it's pressurized, and within the suit, combined with the exoskeleton of the mechanics,
it
should be enough to protect the pilots.
I almost want to give them the benefit of the doubt because the dialogue itself was bad. So I almost want to say, like, just like what Mark was saying, like, I want to see what they do with something else. Could they be better? Because some of the lines in this were horrible. It was like
bull butter.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like Graham Greene is a real good actor. Like, I guess I've only been talking about him phoning it in on this, but like, let me say, I like Graham Greene as an actor. I think he is very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, he was. What did I just see him in recently? Oh, I watched Wind River recently. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
He was in Wind River. But yeah, that's
he's been around. He's been in legit films. Yeah.
It's very clear that he does not like the fact that this is what he had to do with his day. That's okay.
Probably could be out fishing or something, you know.
Yeah,
just like
exactly.
yeah. So yeah, but okay. And then let's see here. The directing itself. Like, what do you guys think?
Okay, I'll take it. You seem to,
Go
you
for it,
seem
go
to be
for it. I
pausing
have an
for
idea,
time.
but I
Okay.
think you have a good one.
No, I don't. I mean, like, look, and this is the thing, and I don't know what you want out of this, Andy. This is the first time, and so I don't.
No,
I
that's fine.
don't necessarily.
No, for sure.
No, I know, but the thing is, from my perspective, like, I don't look at this like I look at this directed as a film director. It's because it's not valuable to look at it that way, because this man, the director Spitfire, directed I think 8 films last year. You know what I mean? Like this is not the sort of directing that you think about a film for, you know. It is much more like TV directing. And so, like, from that perspective, if I look at it as like he directed it like he was the director of an episode of Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or whatever, like,
right.
Yeah, it was pretty, you know, it was fairly competent. He got the blocking right for the most part. They clearly shot a bunch of, they did some shots that were very poorly composed and shouldn't have been in there, but probably because they needed to fill space. I don't think the editor was particularly good, but like, it didn't, but it didn't really seem like, I mean, I don't know. He got it in the can and he kept getting work out of it, and he did it on budget. So like, it seems like that was the job. It's like TV directors. The biggest thing about a TV director is, did you get it in the can on budget and the people on set didn't hate you? And if that's the case, you will get work more. And this man has directed like 50 films from this. So in my mind, like, I don't know everything that went into it, but it seems like he must have done his job.
Yeah,
You know
no,
what I
for
mean?
sure.
Like,
I think basically to that point, Mark, where you're trying to, because at the end of the day, it's all about the vision of what the end product is going to look like. Whether you're actually doing like a legit like feature film versus just like something like this, like, so long as you know what it's going to look like when it's finished and it aligns with that vision, you know, within the expectation. Which, I mean, I have to say that they probably did that. That they definitely accomplished that, at least. I mean, they weren't like shooting for the stars necessarily.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And this brings back into what David and I were saying before. Like, there are 2 different indie films. There's indie films that are like, I just don't have the budget, but I have this vision. And then there's indie films of like, quick, let me release this film at the exact same time of this. It needs to hit this, and this. You know what I mean? And so, like, he must have accomplished that latter version, you know? It's and I didn't even realize that. I feel like the Marvel TV comparison is kind of apt. Again, we've talked a lot about in Phase 4 how the problem with Phase 4 has really been, it seems like they're just rejiggering everything to hit every puzzle piece beat they need to make the next thing, you know. And like, in that way, he was kind of doing the same thing. I'm sure he was like fitting in the scene of this and the scene of this, and, you know, whatever.
Yeah, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a very apt comparison, especially with like the backlighting of like this, like where it's like reds and blues and stuff like that. Like, I just can't help but, you know, think about that now that you mention it. It's just like
CW Flash too.
Yeah, CW. It really feels like one of those. That's the right CW in general. It has that feel. No, but that's the thing. Well, my wife is watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. right now, and so like, I'll walk into a room, and within 3 seconds, even if there's not a character on screen, I'm like, oh, okay, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because it's just because it's just like shot in that particular way, you know.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah.
And again, like, I know it might sound derogatory for me to say that, but I don't mean that. Like, this is just the realities of what they're trying to produce and how they're trying to produce it and what scale they have to produce it on, you know?
But that reflects the budget, though, too, at the same time, is really what 100%. It comes down to. It reflects the budget. It reflects, you know, hey, we have these sets that we're going to consistently reuse and we're going to use the same type of lighting because that's, you know, at the end of the day, this is not going up on, you know, the big screen. This is going to go on someone's TV set. So long as it looks good on that, you know, and we can keep shooting. And if we have to go in for reshoots, we have enough money to go back in there and fix things up or whatever. Right. So
yes and no, but I want to push back. And I know, David, you haven't talked for a second, but I just want to, you know, my apologies.
Yeah.
No, is that like, in that difference between, I don't think you necessarily need budget to show vision.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like one of the reasons we love The Room or we love Birdemic or we love those films is because even though he has $0, the people making this, well, The Room had a lot. That's a different thing. But even though they had they just are pure vision. you know, and you're like, you watch the movie and you're just watching just an unadulterated vision on screen. And it's not hampered by having dollars, you know, whereas like this movie was not about vision. This movie was about
Let's make
making
money.
sure that A connects to B and C in a way that I can sell this to Japan or whatever for, you know, for 50K.
Yep.
And so like, you know, yeah, I'm going to grade it on that scale. I'm not going to grade it on the room scale, you know?
No, that's true. Yeah. No, David, what do you have to add?
I think it's the kind of thing of like, you could look at this and see everybody had a job to do and they did their job up to a certain caliber. But some of the greatest movies ever are produced on lower budgets than what this was made on. So when you look at this,
El
it's
Mariachi.
like,
right.
What's the point? Almost like, I mean, obviously we're just trying to make money, get something out as fast as possible. But I've always had the philosophy of, don't you want it to be good?
Yeah.
Like what can we do with what we've got and make the best possible thing out of that? So, and for me, that comes down to the writing. I think the writing in this is the worst part about it. Acting, yeah, you're going to get what you're going to get at that budget, at that scale. Special effects, I'm with you. The set design, I'm with you. Why was the writing so poor?
Yeah, I feel like the way I think
it's a really good point.
Here's how I think that they made this film. This is the process they made this film. They're like, okay, Pacific Rim is coming out. What do we have readily available to take advantage of this, to, you know, churn some profit off of it? You know, throwing we have the CG artists who can put together our version of a kaiju, right? Okay, what are the locations we have? Okay, we have this location with that location with that location. Oh, we just so happen to be, you know, there's conveniently going to be a party over here, you know, a ballroom party over here. Let's pay them to let us film there for a little bit while they're doing their thing, right? Have them sign some waivers and then go film that footage, write some scenes somehow, and not just kind of throw it together real quick and write the script in like maybe a month and then go shoot.
Oh my God, a month? No, they had less. They had 2 weeks. I guarantee you. I don't mean that as derogatory. I mean that is the time frame that they're working on here. And you know what? I just thought about the ballroom scene.
Yeah.
You know how I was talking about earlier, how like they just need certain things to be able to sell for a certain dollar amount for certain territories.
Yep.
I guarantee you they needed a hot blonde in a dress made up at some point. They wanted a nice dress. They wanted, you know, blah, blah, blah. And they could put that on a poster somewhere. They could sell that. And so that's why that ballroom
online blog with
it makes no sense in the movie. It should not be in there, but they needed a couple shots of like her with gorgeous hair, you know, her like with her hair in that scene was probably more like took up more makeup time than like anyone else in the film, you know, like, and it was because of that. I'm just putting that together right now.
And it's so short too. All that time for such a short scene that means nothing to the overall plot. The entire medal ceremony didn't need to be in the it's not relevant to the story at all.
It was so
to get everybody to look fancy.
He quickly went from being it was amazing because his character went from being a hero to being a criminal to being a celebrated hero in a matter of a day. It's just sort of like
so if this channel gets some repute, you know, and we keep going on and but the thing is like, because I really haven't talked with my friend about the inner workings of Asylum and actually that like exact process for more than like 20-25 minutes, like passing, you know, but I'm not going to ask her on yet. But I do think that, like, if this is a thing that we're interested in, like, I would love to hear about that sort of stuff.
For sure.
I would love to understand, because I'm sure that it's 2 weeks. Like a month is a luxury for like real screenwriters now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I have friends working on shows whose brands I can't say. I shouldn't even know what corporation they're working for, who do not have that time frame. You know, it's like sucks.
Yeah. It's tough out there now.
Yeah, no, but you know what though? Like this, like to your point, Mark, it is like this is like a whole segment of an independent film that a lot of people are working in this subset of the industry, and so like that's why like there was the Bruce Willis Film Factory situation that took place about a year ago. I'm not sure if you know about that. Yeah. I'm not sure, David. Are you familiar with that by chance?
No.
So basically, Bruce Willis was signed on with this like production company, basically, and they gave him like a really big paycheck to come work for him, and the deal was this: like he did like almost like about a dozen of these movies, these like B movies, right? Like super terrible B movies, but he would literally be there for like maybe a day or two at the most, and they would get all of his shots all in one day. And for if I'm Bruce Willis, I'm like done, you know, like that's a great deal, right? Where you get to work, you know, very few hours in a day, and at the same time, I mean, it's just they're getting anything and everything that they can within that 24-hour period, you know, 2 days or however long it is, and they're repurposing it as best they can. But like it's just so funny because you'll see these shots of these films that like a lot of these movies, like it's like the back of him, so they have like a double like being him, and then a whole bunch of shots where he's just like waving like this, like you just see the back of him like waving like, yeah, see you later. It's like totally awkward.
Smart.
But again, yes, but what they do is because they know that there's, and again, it's the confusion. They see Bruce Willis on a movie, and this was primarily set for Redbox, which, by the way, I just went to a grocery store recently. The Redbox is not there anymore. I'm not sure if Redbox is gone now or what, but at this grocery store that I normally go to, I remember seeing it there. It's not there anymore. But
we still have it in rural Texas.
That was basically,
just so you know. We still have it in rural Texas.
Okay. Maybe it was just the grocery store that I just happened to be at. I mean, maybe they're still around, but anyways, so they deliberately made it for the Redbox markets, because when you go there, you see all these movies you never heard of before for the most part, and you turn it out, because Redbox movies are great. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I'm kind of upset that it's not there anymore, but that's basically it, and that's this whole market out there that people have really done a good job of, and I think. I know it sounds like we're like dogging on these people, but I just want to make sure that you have to have the right mindset for, when you watch these movies. That this is a business. This is, at the end of the day, this is a business, and to their credit, we watched it. And that's their objective, is to get guys like us to watch it. To watch it and talk about it, and we did, and they points on the board for these people. So, yeah. So. All right, and then anything else about the directing, guys, at all?
Didn't really have much trouble with the directing. I thought the directing was okay, all things considered.
Those shots, those below shots, those like crotch shots where it kept making, those were weird.
And now he's out of.
He's fine.
No, maybe he's the kaiju now. Maybe they're one, and he's really tall. They haven't really shown the perspective yet. Maybe he's a giant. That's why he had nothing to get out of.
And roll credits.
I mean, this is really how they shot it, right? It looks like
he looks like he's a giant. Yeah. And it did a lot of cutaways.
The ill-timed
quick. There's a lot of quick cuts, but I don't know if that was the directing or if that was in the editing.
Yeah, or if they just lost, like the boom dropped into half of the shot, so they couldn't let it land, let it go more than 6 seconds.
Yeah. And then the I guess this kind of falls in the bucket of producing, though, because I try to separate producing from directing, obviously, but I guess in this instance the directing and producing is kind of one and the same, just because of the product, the end product, where it's just
the producer is more, it's like Marvel, that Kevin Feige is more the Feige I don't know, I've seen
I think it's Feige.
Okay, Feige, he is more the traditional director than a lot of than we usually think of in that way. Yeah,
kind of like a George Lucas. Yeah, in that regard. Yeah, so it's they're the one that's kind of driving the vision of what's supposed to happen, the end product. And then
Kevin's got to get back on it.
So then.
I mean, look, I went and watched the Multiverse of Madness because someone told me it was a Sam Raimi film, and I watched that film. I was like, "This is a Kevin Feige film where they gave Sam Raimi 20 minutes, to do his thing." And I love that 20 minutes. It might be my favorite 20 minutes in a Marvel film. Once whatever Strange spreads his zombie wings and becomes a corpse, I'm like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah, that's a Raimi scene.
Although
right, exactly.
That was definitely Sam Raimi's scene. Although I will admit that I like the scene with the musical fight, with all the musical notes, weapons. I personally enjoyed that part a lot.
By the time it got to that, so I was so done with the movie.
Yeah,
but I was already done, so I couldn't take that seriously.
Yeah, no, I hear you. The Marvel films have been going down, unfortunately. So, which is really sad. But I guess it's another topic for another day.
Yeah.
So, lastly, guys, I guess what we could talk about here is okay. So now that's symmetry. I think that's the one thing we should talk about. The symmetry with this and Pacific Rim, like how much of actual symmetry there was. So you got the kaiju, right? You got the robots, right? Anything else beyond that? Like, how would you guys describe the symmetry?
You've got somewhat of a romance plot between two of the mech pilots.
Yeah,
you've got a sword button.
Yeah, they literally did the sword button. The thing that they had not alluded to, again, like the thing that was so good about the sword button is that they didn't say they had swords. You never heard the sword thing. They didn't talk about the swords. And then they're just like, fuck it, sword button, and they did the same thing here. They're like, that's it. Hour and 15 minutes of the film, time to activate the melee weapons. And you're like, yes, melee weapons.
That was great. No, that was fun. That was a fun part of the movie for sure. That's something I definitely enjoyed watching. And although like I feel like the romance was much more obvious in Atlantic Rim than it was Pacific Rim. It felt like it was there, but it wasn't there. If you recall, where it's just like I just didn't understand the way it was portrayed on screen. It's like she's kind of into him, but then like at the very end, it's just like there was like he's like resuscitated and alive in that little like life drop, and they see each other and they kind of give each other like that awkward hug, like that friend zone hug away. It's like.
Well said. That was a friend zone hug. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's just like totally not like into it. Like they're like, oh, I love you, sort of as a friend. Haha. Wink, wink. It's just like nothing beyond that. But although like I got a better sense of the military hierarchy in a way. Well, they tried to use a traditional hierarchy that we were familiar with in Atlantic Rim, but at the same time, I didn't quite understand where the pilots fit in. Like, weren't like ranks. There wasn't. He referred to them as an airman at one point. I was like, I'm not sure if you guys caught that. But they're reporting to an admiral in the Navy. I just like, to me, that's kind of a bit disjointed in a way.
Well, they had a fight over that, right?
I'm just a military guy.
Yeah, there was an argument
over.
They had an argument over, like who's like the NASA between NASA and the admiral, that they were like, oh, you don't ruin my pilots, and they're like, they're my pilots too. It's like, well, wait, how? You know what I mean? Like, I'm confused.
Yeah. I have to call out some things about this film too from a military perspective. So obviously the haircuts and stuff like that were the first thing that stood out with me, where it's like, that's not like, although they changed the grooming standards as of the past year or so in the Army, they're much more lax than they used to be. But obviously that's not when this is filmed. It was like high and tights were kind of a thing. But when he got offended that the guy called him a squid, I was like, not once of all the things that would trigger someone, like, because just so you're aware, so that's obvious, that's a derogatory, or that's used as like a, it's used to make fun of people who are in like the Navy typically. I remember at the military academy, we used to refer to the people who went to Naval Academy as squids. It's kind of like a pejorative, obviously, kind of making fun of them, but it's more of a spirit pejorative, right? But I've never in my wildest dreams would I ever see like that's a trigger for someone.
Watch where you're going, man.
Yeah, dude. What? Can you let me call you back. What'd you say?
Red.
You heard me.
Red.
No, it's all cool. I just want to make sure I heard him right.
Don't do this.
Squid, let me just tell you something. I'll kick your ass so fast, you don't know what hit you, bro.
Settle down, all right?
Oh, he's got a chain.
Oh, no.
Back up, bitch. Don't touch her.
Whoa.
Bitch.
You call me a squid? It's just sort of like
is Jarhead? Is it similar to Jarhead? Like
yeah,
that sort of a
term? It's more spirited. It's not like in a negative connotation necessarily. It's almost like a point of pride. It's like devil dog. That's another one. But like that devil dog is not. It's more of a compliment, I guess. Complimentary nickname, if you will. And then there's like There's zoomies, which is like what you would call people in the Air Force.
That's what my dog does.
But
I haven't walked her enough.
Yeah. Although Blue Falcon that's definitely but that's usually you're talking about someone not, or maybe I don't know, like it's Blue Falcon is a selfie for like buddy fucker in a way, and Blue Falcon is largely because Falcons is the Air Force, so and their color is blue, so getting screwed over by someone, that's what you call a Blue Falcon. Can you guys hear me? That's my connection right now.
You're cutting in and out a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
How's it now?
Oh,
yeah, my connection earlier. Okay, maybe just lean it in. Maybe that was it. Okay. No, but what I was saying about Blue Falcons, so like it's a pejorative. Did you catch any of that at all about Blue Falcons? Didn't go into that? Okay, yeah. Okay, cool. And then there's a couple. The other thing that kind of stood out was Graham Greene had like I'm not sure if you guys noticed this on his chest. He had like the Navy SEAL trident, and I was trying to figure out like why. Like it was just weird, just kind of like thrown on there, and then of course there's the face makeup that we saw on the,
oh gosh,
the guy who was
that was ridiculous,
running towards the fights. I just had like a serious like tactical problem with all these people, just like shooting, just like running and then just like shooting up, like just like I'm just gonna start shooting my weapon, like for like almost. I get it, the monsters there, but there's typically like we're gonna be like very like thoughtful with this. It just seemed very thoughtless in that regard, and pointing their weapons at civilians like this.
Yeah, it seemed like that was something that even I picked up on as a civvy. Was just like they are holding their they are really just like I don't want to say callously holding their weapons, but they were just like they're just like they're here, and they're just kind of running around and looking at the
Wild West.
Yeah, right.
They weren't really believable as military guys.
No. They went. What is and I just have to point out I think. Well, let me do this before I do it. Like so what was your favorite part of Atlantic Rim? If you had to pick out one favorite part.
Favorite part. That's a toughie.
Well, that didn't go exactly as planned in my mind.
Admiral, we've got to get you to a hospital.
Negative. It's just a flight. I'm not going anywhere unless the pilots are successful.
Admiral, there's ketchup all over you.
Admiral, there's blood is on your...
It's because there's so many. I think
you sound like someone who hasn't read the book in class, and they're like, "Oh, what's this about?" Like, "Oh, there's so many good parts."
So many good parts of this film.
Oh yeah.
How are they going to fight when they can't see what they're swinging at? We're looking at another railgun situation, folks. I think the kaiju scenes were played really well. I really liked how they did that because it's a small budget and they made it believable, and you have the extras running through, and a lot of that wasn't too bad. I thought that was pretty good. I thought some of the combat at the end, you could tell that's where they were sinking the budget, where with the robots fighting. That looked pretty solid. That actually looked pretty solid, and I was like, oh, that's not too bad. It's like they were saving it. They were saving the budget for the melee button, for the melee button.
Yeah, I think it's a good way. It's a really good way to put it. I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
for sure. And then Mark, how about you? What was your favorite, most memorable moment? I guess you could say.
I mean, again, I've already sung from the rooftops about whatever his name is, Spencer. Not Spencer. I don't remember the name that he's under. On IMDb.
Steve Marlowe.
They never say
Steve
his
Marlowe.
name. Right? No, I know it's Stephen Marlowe, but he's credited under something else, even though they only call him Geis in the film. Yeah, but
Sheldon.
on IMDb, he's Sheldon.
He's Sheldon.
Thank you. Yeah. Sheldon.
I don't know why. Why?
Yeah, they never call him Sheldon once, but I mean, I've already crowed that a lot. I really enjoyed a lot of the sequences. I think the most memorable sequence for me is the help. You're on the other side of a flimsy door. Let me get like a small residential hammer penguin, basically. It's a dino penguin.
Tracy, Jim, I told you to get out of here. What are you guys doing back here?
Oh my god.
Get me the shield. Get me the second.
To like hit this thing. Like
That was rough.
And it was so long. It was so long, you know.
The build up for a hammer. Oh my goodness.
And then when they finally hit it, you know, and they knock off the handle, there's nothing behind it holding it. It's just clearly they just
dropped it.
Yeah, they just built it dropping. I don't know. That 100% will stick with me a lot. I will like that part.
It's gonna keep you up at night, huh?
I love it. You know, like look. One of the things I was gonna like save this for the wrap up, but I guess we'll put it in here. I know we're getting long. Like, Andy, I really appreciate you inviting me to this, and one of the reasons I love it is because there are so many people who are like influenced by, I think, Mystery Science Theater in the wrong way, that they are looking at these films because they want to laugh at it. And to me, there is no difference between good art and bad art. The difference is whether you like it or not. It's whether it's art you like or whether it's art you don't like. And for me, when I watch these films, I enjoy them. And I enjoy them and I understand the auspices of where they're made and what's going on. And like, there's no difference for me between the memorableness of that scene. If I remember it, great. I love it, you know? And so I don't know. I like us talking about this in this way that like, yeah, we're having fun with it. We're kind of mocking it a little bit, but like, we're also coming at it on its own terms. We're not mocking it for stuff that's out of its control, you know? And I think that's fair and kind.
I don't think it makes sense to compare this with a film that's made by Legendary Pictures because they obviously don't have the budget. You can't really compare it within those parameters. And if you know what the objective is, if you know what they're working with, and you're like, okay, this is obviously what they're doing, you know, and this is, you know, it's one thing where it's like you can, yeah, if I had that budget, yeah, I probably, you know, with the Legendary, like I said, and Warner Brothers, I probably could have made a Pacific Rim as well, you know, to that same quality. But if it's like Band-Aids, bubblegums, and paper clips, you know, I'm not. It's gonna be really. It's more likely gonna end up looking like an Atlantic Rim. So yeah, for sure. Yeah. I guess I think, you know, my memorable moment, the hammer scene, right? The hammer scene is probably my favorite moment. And then like what Dave was saying, like the kaiju, you know, they did a good job of making the kaiju look, you know, pretty darn good with their likely shoestring budget I'm assuming to work with to make this film. And then yeah. That female actress who is you know, again, like another bright spot, the one who was working with like there's that one brief scene I called out, you know, oh, you know, like the girl did actually a pretty good job of you know delivering her lines and stuff like that, like
yes,
especially with the camera angles and stuff like that. She actually did well.
Lionfish Charlie 27, restate your position. Charlie 27, come in.
His name's labeled as Sheldon on IMDb for this movie, for Atlantic Rim.
Thank you.
Am I the only...
Even though they've only called him Geist so far. They've only referred to him as Geist.
I think this girl's like the most believable actress so far.
Yeah, she was good. I agree.
So, guys, would you recommend Atlantic Rim to anyone?
It's going on my top 10 for the year.
Take that first. Is it really?
It's well.
He's only watched 6 films so far.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's in my top 10. I track all the movies that I watch that I see for the first time. So I started that last year. I'm doing it this year. So I'll be rating it. My goal is to get 100. So every year I try to shoot for like 100 films that I haven't seen before. Obviously can't do that on just new movies, but it'll be interesting to see if it goes in the top 50 or the bottom 50 because it's the best 50 or the worst. Yeah. Probably going to be in the bottom. But I think more to Mark's point of like there's those nuanced moments in it that you get to like that are really memorable, like the hammer with the door. A lot of these indie movies that are like this have those moments where it's like that was gold, and so like I like those. Those are awesome.
Yeah.
Would I recommend it?
Would
probably yeah. I would recommend it.
It's like a Sharknado.
Exactly.
Yeah. What about you, Mark?
I mean, I can't. Look, I've lived my whole life watching movies like I've lived my whole life like watching movies like this and loving movies like this and trying to get other people to watch them and like them. And even my favorites, what I think are the best ones, I can't get purchase on. Like, and so I'm not going to recommend this one. I'm not going to waste my recommendation on a thing that then they're going to come back and roll your eyes at me on. This is in the top half of these type of films that I have seen, but like for me to recommend it, it's got to be up in that upper echelon, and I don't think this quite reaches that. Is my
Bull
thought.
butter.
I've seen every single movie Dolph Lundgren has made. You know what I mean? Like,
are you serious?
Oh yeah, all of them until about the last couple of years. since the birth of my child 4 years ago, that's when I dropped off. But Command Performance, when he's a drummer in a cool band that then gets hijacked by terrorists at an arena and he has to stop them. But I can't recommend that film to people, no matter how much I love Command Performance.
Didn't he do a Kindergarten Cop reboot?
Yeah, Kindergarten Cop 2, yeah.
He did.
Oh my
god. Oh, I love Kindergarten Cop.
But did you see the second one though?
No, the one with Schwarzenegger is the best one. I just
yeah. Incomparable. Yeah, it's
not a tumor.
That film was just unforgettable for sure. Well, excellent. Well, guys, this is fun. We should definitely do this again. I really had fun doing this. So I think I'm going to take this film and I'm going to go ahead and get busy here, and put it away.
We should see in the chat what they recommend we watch next.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, definitely drop comments in there at the bottom and see if you like that. If there are sound like movies that you're aware of that you want us to watch, by all means, let's hear them. Let's hear them.
And I just want to make sure chat people know, I did work for WWE Studios for like 4 years, so do not suggest one of those films. I've seen them all. Leprechaun Origins, seen it. The Chaperone, seen it. Pure Country. Heart of Gold, saw it. What I mean?
And we'll watch it again.
There's a couple gems in there actually that I might make y'all watch. One of the Christmas movies they made is great.
Yeah, awesome. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate that. And thanks for joining me and then sitting through Atlantic Rim, sitting through this caliber film, a caliber film on its own terms, So,
hell yeah.
Well said.
Yeah. And I really look forward to hearing what people have to say. And hey, if you go watch, let me know what you think. Let us know what you all think. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Thanks for having us, Andy. Really appreciate it.
For sure.
I still want my scones.
They're in the mail. All right. See you guys.
Later.